Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has arrived in China for a week of high-level discussions. Well, joining us live is Nationals Deputy Leader and Shadow Trade and Tourism Minister Kevin Hogan. Live in Lismore, good afternoon to you, Kevin. So yes, we just heard the Prime Minister talking about China's tourism in Australia. It's growing at a faster pace than other overseas markets. He spoke about AUKUS and defence, to name a few. Did you get a chance to hear what he had said at all, and what are you making of what this trip is so far?
Look, Jenny, I only just caught the end of that press conference, but aware of some of the other commentary that's been made. But look, let me start, Jenny, by saying, look, I am happy that the Prime Minister is in China talking to the Chinese government. I mean, on tourism alone, Chinese numbers into Australia well down on pre-COVID levels, and that wasn't helped by the Labor government cutting funding to Tourism Australia a few years ago. But look, I think there's a focus back on that, which is good. There's a lot of growth potential there for our tourism industry. China, as you know, our biggest trading partner, so it's an important relationship with all the things that we sell to them as well. So I think the meeting is healthy. I think the fact he's there is healthy. But look, I draw the distinction, Janie, between the fact that he's having a 6-day visit to China, which again I think is a good thing, but can't even get a phone call into the President of the United States. And Janie, dare I say, you know, that maybe in hindsight it would have been better for both Prime Minister Albanese and Ambassador Rudd, who made public derogatory comments about the American president. Certainly haven't done that, and neither they should, about the Chinese president. But look how the two relationships are ongoing, which is an interesting distinction.
So how would you describe then the Prime Minister's approach to this week's meetings?
Well, look, again, I think it's great he's there. Obviously, I'm building the trade relationship. I think is healthy. This has been a really complementary relationship we've had with China, especially over the last 10 years. Remember, Janie, when in government, we signed the free trade agreement with China around 10 years ago. We had President Xi, in fact, address the Parliament when we were in government, when, you know, the relationship has had ups and downs over that time, but is a very complementary relationship, good for China and good for our exporters. So I'm glad he's there, and I'm glad he's there looking to boost tourism numbers and talk about trade.
And he mentioned, you know, the tourism is lifting, certainly since last year. Compared it to pre-COVID levels, of course, we're starting to see that increase year on year. But again, AUKUS, defence, do you think we're going to hear much about security with this week's trip?
Well, look, I'm sure they will, and I'm sure they'll talk about a number of things about, you know, defence and other issues as well. But, you know, those discussions should happen behind closed doors. I mean, we're always going to agree with China on some things. We're always going to disagree with China on some things, like we do with the US. We disagree with Trump on tariffs, and I think it's healthy the Prime Minister's there talking to the Chinese President and Premier about what we agree on and what we don't agree on, and those have to be full, frank discussions. Again, I draw the distinction, unfortunate that with a very important ally like the United States, a national security partner, and also an important economic partner, I don't even think there's been a phone call recently, and I just draw that distinction.
And the Prime Minister also mentioned, again, the importance of the tourism trade for Australia, China being one of them. And we have places like the Great Barrier Reef that he mentioned, the ski fields that we're about to cross to now, billions of dollars into our economy because of tourism. You're the Shadow Trade Minister, of course. So how important is tourism for our country?
Look, tourism, huge, Jenny, a huge industry for us and one of our biggest exports, in fact. So, again, the foreign visitors that we're getting too, we're seeing the short stay isn't still as high as it was before pre-COVID. So there's a lot of family reunions and family visitations happening, but that really valuable and high-spending short-stay tourist number who's here for a few weeks, we need to increase that. So I think it's important that we keep talking about that. Regional tourism as well, a real focus of mine. We have some, you know, Sydney and Melbourne and Brisbane, great places to go, but you know, some really important regional places that we need to get our foreign visitation out into as well. So all important focuses.
All right, and we are about to go to the slopes to talk to Amber Lawrence, who is a well-known country music star, and looking at some of those figures in terms of live music, where a lot of people certainly come from overseas to travel to Australia. 12 million people, Kevin, attended events, and that's the highest in 15 years, and that was the year 2023 to 24, according to Music Australia. I mean, it's contributing billions of dollars into our economy, and it coincides, would you say, with tourism?
Oh, look, absolutely. Whenever we get these big tours, and include Australian tours as well, I mean, it gets people out and about as well. So it's great for hospitality, great for retail. So all good. And I compliment too with the music industry how valuable they are to our economy. Also the local film industry, and we see some great, great investments happening there as well. So both important to our tourism numbers and to the growth of the economy domestically.
And where you are, of course, in Lismore, we've had huge amounts of devastation with the recent floods, the floods back in the early 2000s and 2020, I should say. Gosh, the years are going so quickly. But, what's happening in terms of where you are, just before we wrap up?
Well, look, we also have a great tourism story here too in the Northern Rivers. We have a rail trail that's, I think, going to become world famous, which is becoming very popular with tourists. Tourists are travelling not just from within Australia to come to the rail trail here, they're travelling from overseas to come to it as well. We obviously have the beaches, dare I say, I'll give a few a plug in my electorate, like the Woolgoolga, the northern beaches of Coffs Harbour, Evans Head as well, and other beautiful places along the coastline. So we have a great story. I mean, look behind me, Janie, we're rolling green hills, we have a great climate, so always encourage people to come to the Northern Rivers.
All right, yes, big plug there. Why not? Kevin Hogan, thank you very much.